Everybody ready? All right. Good afternoon. My name is John Posey, John, last name spelling Pozzi. I'm a deputy chief with the City of Rockford Police Department. I'd like to introduce, first of all, Kurt Wisenhan. He is in charge of our investigation going on right now at this time. He's with the City of Rockford Police Department. I'd like to introduce Marilyn Height-Ross. She is the Winnebago County State's Attorney. I'd like to introduce Tom McNamara, who is the mayor of the City of Rockford. And I'd like to introduce Sam Thomas. He is the investigative coordinator for the Illinois State Police in this region. Getting started off, I will tell you what we will do is we will entertain some questions at the end, but please everybody keep in mind that this is a very active investigation, so our questions that we will be able to answer will be limited at this point. This is based on what we know at this juncture. At approximately 9:15 this morning, regional law enforcement agencies from this area responded to the Extended Stay America Hotel at 747 North Bell School Road here in the City of Rockford. They are responding in regards to a shooting involving a member of a U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. Upon arrival, law enforcement from the area secured the scene. The injured party, which was a U.S. Marshal assigned to this task force, was transported to a local hospital, and he is currently in critical condition. The suspect in this incident fled prior to this large law enforcement response. The law enforcement agencies secured the perimeter of this, and we quickly learned that there was a female acquaintance of the suspect still inside the hotel room. With the assistance of regional law enforcement, this female was extracted from the room. She did sustain a gunshot wound, which at this point does not believe to be from a law enforcement officer. She was transported to a local hospital where she is currently being treated. As I said, the suspect fled the scene, and with the assistance of various technology sources provided by regional and national law enforcement, the suspect was located fleeing the area in a vehicle. He is currently right now involved in a barricaded subject situation with the Illinois State Police and other law enforcement agencies on Interstate 55 south of Bloomington between Springfield, Illinois. I could tell you the U.S. Marshals Task Force that was here to serve a warrant on a suspect who has since been identified as Floyd Brown, 39 years of age. Mr. Brown is from the central Illinois area. Mr. Brown was wanted on warrants out of Sangamon County, Champaign County, McLean County, and he was also wanted on an Illinois Department of Corrections parole violation warrant. We understand there's been some reports of the identity as who the injured officer was. At this point, we are not releasing that because we are allowing family to contact and notify other family members. We can tell you that this officer is a member of the McHenry County Sheriff's Department, and he is assigned to the Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Apprehension Task Force, which is headed up by the U.S. Marshals Service. As I said before, the suspect is a Floyd Brown, 39 years of age, and he is from central Illinois, and at this point we don't know of any connection to the Rockford, Illinois area. What I will do now is turn this next aspect over to Lieutenant Kurt Wisenhan, who could provide some information on the investigative follow-up.
Thank you. As Chief Posey said, my name is Kurt Wisenand. It's K-U-R-T-W-H-I-S-E-N-A-N-D, and I'm the Lieutenant of Investigations for the Rockford Police Department. Our detectives were part of the initial law enforcement response, and once we determined that there was a law enforcement agent who was injured, we began an investigation. The female, as Chief Posey said, was extracted from the hotel room. She did sustain a gunshot wound. Based on the information we have at this point, no law enforcement officers fired any rounds during this incident. So we believe that based on what we know at this time that the female victim was injured by the suspect's rounds. Based on that information we collected during the investigation, we reviewed the case with the Winnebago County State's Attorney's Office and subsequently got attempted murder charges against Floyd Brown, as Chief Posey stated. We broadcast all that information, the suspect information, to area law enforcement, and he was subsequently located down on I-55, somewhere between Bloomington and Springfield, where the state police were able to secure him, as Chief Posey said at this time. I'll turn the rest of it over to Master Sergeant Sam Thomas from the State Police.
Good afternoon. My name's Sam Thomas, Thomas. I'm a Master Sergeant with the Illinois State Police investigations in this region. And as Chief Posey alluded earlier, once the suspect information was developed and the probable identity of the suspect, and then it was later learned that the suspect had fled the scene, that information, along with the vehicle that he was driving, was broadcast statewide as well as across the border in Wisconsin, Indiana, and Illinois. Shortly thereafter, troopers in the Bloomington area located the vehicle that the suspect was driving and attempted to effectuate a traffic stop with that vehicle. That vehicle continued to elude the troopers at that time, traveling on I-55 between Bloomington and Springfield. The vehicle eventually crashed in a rural area and is off the interstate. The interstate is shut down in that area by the state police. The suspect is contained but not in custody at this time, and negotiation efforts are in the process with the suspect.
Good afternoon, Marilyn Height Ross, Winnebago County State's Attorney, HITE, capital ROSS. This morning, my office was notified regarding an incident involving a U.S. Marshal who had been injured. We had been on contact and on scene with law enforcement officers, keeping me up to date moment by moment about what was transpiring. A couple of hours ago, my office issued an arrest warrant for Floyd Brown for the offense of attempt first-degree murder regarding the U.S. Marshal deputy that was injured. We received a $5 million bond for Mr. Brown, and that warrant is out and active until he is taken into custody on that warrant. In addition, the charges that my office has filed carry a penalty of a minimum of 20 years up to 80 years and then potentially natural life in the Illinois Department of Corrections. Those charges are merely allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent until or unless proven guilty in a court of law. I would like to thank all of the other local agencies who came to assist the U.S. Marshals and the Rockford Police Department, the largest of that agency being the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department as well as the Illinois State Police. We had collaboration with several other law enforcement agencies in the area. We wanted to make sure that the public realized that law enforcement was on top of the suspect and that the local community was not in danger. And I just want to thank all of those law enforcement officers for their collaboration. Our prayers at this time are obviously with the family of the injured deputy, and we wish them well. Thank you.
My name is Tom McNamara. I'm the mayor of the city of Rockford. That's McNamara. Obviously, receiving one of the most difficult calls any elected official will receive is when you hear of an active shooting situation going on in your own community. I just want to say first and foremost a tremendous thank you to the number of police departments and law enforcement that came together to partner on this horrific incident. Also, the outpouring of support that we've received from everyone from the governor's office to other mayors of other municipalities throughout the state and the region. I also want to echo State's Attorney Height Ross's comments. My heart truly goes out to the officer who was injured and their entire family, as well as all law enforcement. When one is injured in such a horrific situation with the tight-knit bond that law enforcement have, every single one of them is impacted. And my heart goes out there, and I just want to say thank you to just the members of the public who have shown their outpouring of support for all of our law enforcement community at this really difficult time, and urge all citizens to continue to keep this officer specifically and all of our law enforcement in their thoughts and prayers during this difficult time.
All right, as I said prior, we can entertain a few questions, but again, keep in mind this is an active investigation, so we can release very little more than what we have at this
Could you
point.
go into more detail about the encounter at the hotel with the officer and Mr. Brown?
Okay. We cannot, again, that's part of the active investigation, and that will information will come out of the U.S. Marshal Service when they are available.
Can you talk about how many
sus-
other U.S. Marshals were there at the time? How many were on this task force?
We do not have that number. Again, we'll defer that to them when they're available.
You
What was
mentioned
the
the suspect was
relationship?
wanted on
John,
a
what
number
was the
on a
relationship?
warrants out of a number of counties. Can you talk about what he was wanted for?
Right now, no, we just have confirmed that they were active warrants, but we have not contacted them. That will be part of the investigation to see what they are exactly for, because these are more of court-issued warrants. So.
John, what was the relationship between the suspect and the female who was shot?
Best we can say right now, they're acquaintances. Now we have investigators that are interviewing her, and that will be delved into further.
Do you know how long he had been staying at that hotel?
Do not at this point.
he
Again,
staying
we can access records. That's again part of the
Did he
investigation.
register under an alias, do you know?
Can't say at this point.
Do you know exactly where this shooting happened? Was it inside, near the room? What, can you kind of specify that?
This shooting took place on the exterior.
How was he able to escape?
That's all part of the investigation. That'll come out through interviews.
And what's the condition on the female?
It's
What's her condition?
non-life-threatening.
If and when he's taken into custody, what will happen? Will he be brought back here to Rockford? I know that he's wanted in 3 counties, right?
He will be taken into custody on the multiple warrants that were outstanding for him. Eventually, he will be brought back to Rockford to face the charges that my office has filed against him.
Can anyone shed any light on how dangerous it is for these officers to execute warrants?
Well, speaking in general terms, of course, anytime a law enforcement officer goes to execute a warrant, regardless of how minor, how major it is, there's a large factor of danger involved, of course. So in this case, they approached an unknown, and sad to say, they came out on the bad end of the operation. So, but every day, whether it's they're executing a warrant such as this, or a uniformed officer out there conducting a simple traffic stop or responding to a general call, the danger factor in today's world is very high.
John, can you comment on what level, what floor the suspect was staying in the hotel?
Oh yeah, it's a three-floor structure, and he was on the top floor.
Did he jump out the window to escape?
That's what we are looking at this point. Indications that we are seeing that yes, he probably fled on foot out a window.
When you say the shooting took place in the exterior, are you speaking outside of the room or outside of the building?
Outside of the building.
We heard he escaped in one of the police officers' vehicles. Do you know if that's true?
That is not true at all. No, that's not true at all.
You said that the suspect is contained right now, so is he just sitting in his car, or?
Sam, you wanna?
The latest update I received before we came in here is that he is still inside his vehicle, off the interstate, in a field. It's in a rural area. It's nowhere near any populated area, and they are trying to make negotiation efforts with him at this time.
So how long after this incident, the shooting occurred, did you all locate the suspect?
I can't give you an exact time. I'm not certain.
We understand the suspect has a pretty long rap sheet. Can you talk about that, the concern at all?
No. Go ahead, Kurt. Jump up there. No.
Yeah, we're not going to comment on the suspect's criminal history or lack thereof at all.
Kurt or John, could you comment on the response that the various police agencies involved in this operation, on the logistics of the response once the situation unfolded?
Yeah, once we received the call for the shots fired, it was pretty seamless. Obviously, the Rockford Police Department and the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department were the closest. We did receive assistance from the Cherry Valley Police Department, the state police. Loves Park was here, so the Rockford Park District was also here. So once we were at the scene, it was rather seamless. There weren't any issues at all.
Any idea how fast he was driving on the interstate? Were there any other accidents or collisions?
I can't give you any indication of what the speeds were that he reached. I did receive information that there may have been at least one other collision as part of his attempt to flee from the troopers.
And was he firing shots from the car at all?
I don't have that information.
Sam, it's been mentioned that the officers did not fire their weapons in this situation, is that correct?
I don't have any knowledge of that
Well,
right now, Ken.
I'm getting at, will this be investigated by the Boone-Winnebago County Integrity Task Force?
No, sir.
You will
The,
not?
the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force will not play a part in this investigation.
So officers did not shoot back when the suspect shot at them?
I can't speak to that right now. That's part of all the investigation that's unfolding at this time.
And then as for the woman that was injured, was she shot, the suspect shot her, and it wasn't from the officers?
And that's all part of that's trying to be sorted out right now at this time by the investigators.
I can comment on that.
Okay.
Just so based on what we know, again, based on what we know at this time, there were no shots fired at all by law enforcement officers. There was obviously shots fired by the suspect, and the fact that she was hit by gunfire would indicate to us, based on what we know at this time, that she was struck by one of his rounds.
And was she shot in the hotel room?
Yes.
Was there anybody in the car? Out of the window then? If the shooting happened outside of the building and she was shot inside the hotel room, did he shoot out of the window at police?
So there were shots fired inside the hotel room, and the actual sheriff's deputy was shot outside of the hotel.
Was there anybody else in the car with him?
I don't believe so at this point.
Not to my knowledge, no.
But again, the car has not been secured at this point, so we don't know for sure.
Is there surveillance footage?
Again, we're early on in the investigation. We are obviously contacting local businesses in that surrounding area, looking for that, but at this point I don't have any specific knowledge of that.
Were there a lot of guests staying at that hotel at the time, and can you kind of describe the scene for those people?
So there were a number of guests at the hotel on all 3 levels. During the initial response, once we had the exterior of the hotel secured, we did systematically go through there and get everyone out of the hotel who was in danger. But again, that took some time.
And where were they brought?
They were brought over here across the street to Giovanni's, who's restaurant. They've been very helpful with this and giving us places to give the guests to stay, and again, giving us the room here for the briefing.
How concerning is it to have a situation where someone has already fired at one of your officers and now is cornered by several officers? Just can you talk about the dangers and the worries that you all have? Because at this point it appears that this guy doesn't have anything to lose.
Again, in general, not specific to this case, it's always dangerous. Obviously, he's indicated that he's willing to use force, so we would prefer that it ends peacefully, but again, that's not up to law enforcement.
And I just want to confirm, you guys did tell us earlier that he used a rifle to shoot at the officer?
Yeah, we believe at this time it was a long rifle.
Is he still armed?
That we don't know.
AK-47?
I don't have the specific type of gun. He's just he hasn't been secured. The car is obviously immobile, but it hasn't been searched or anything.
Can you comment how many times the officer was shot?
Not at this point, no.
More than once?
Again, I don't know his exact injuries.
So to summarize what you've described so far, the officers come up, this fugitive task force drives up to the parking lot, they get out, and this guy starts shooting at him from his room, and then jumps, at some point, shoots the woman and jumps out and gets away in his car?
Again, we're early on in the investigation. Based on what we know, there were shots fired in the hotel room and also outside in the parking lot. And we believe the sheriff's deputy, the member of the marshal's service, was shot outside.
In the parking lot?
In the parking lot.
So did they ever make their way upstairs into the hallway in front of his room, or?
Yes, they were at the hotel room. They were in the hallway when the initial shots were fired.
Did law enforcement lose contact with the suspect after he fled the hotel? Whose car was he driving? Was it stolen? We did lose contact with him. Again, because of the initial response, it took some time to determine that he had fled the scene. And once we determined that, we broadcast that information, and that's how the state police were able to locate him. The car is not stolen, no.
Is his vehicle?
To my knowledge, based on what we know, yes, it is his vehicle.
Did he begin firing shots after they pounded on the door, or how did they get contact?
Again, the exact way that went down is under investigation, so we don't have all those details, but we do know there were shots fired in the hotel room and also outside in the parking lot.
Kurt or John or both, would you, as veteran police officers, just describe your emotions when one of your brothers or sisters is wounded?
Obviously, anytime anybody is injured seriously like this with gunfire, we take it very seriously. We have some very talented detectives who are investigating the case. The fact that it's a law enforcement officer obviously doesn't change the basic investigation very much, but it does add to the emotions of the police officers. But
We have some very well-trained, experienced investigators who are able to set that aside and do their jobs as they are right now.
How was he stopped?
It's my understanding that his vehicle crashed, that he ran off the roadway and crashed into a field.
His fault?
Correct, that's right.
And is he seeming to be cooperating with negotiators, or is it one way at this moment?
I don't have that detail, sir. All I know is that the personnel on scene are trying to make every effort they can to negotiate with him and bring it to a peaceful ending.
All right, everybody, thank you. We're going to wrap this up. Everybody here needs to get back to the business at hand. We appreciate everybody coming out. The city will continue to disseminate information going forth, so please monitor that. And once any of the other agencies that were not able to participate can, they of course will reach out to you as well. So thank you very much.
Yep. Information, new individual.